Roll for Crit here at PAX Unplugged 2018, and we're here with Drew from Wizards of the Coast, who's going to show us about the Transformers card game. Now, we recently released a video a little while back with our reviews and how to play, but so much has come out since then, including the huge Metroplex deck,
yes,
as well as a few little spoiler stuff, which you'll want to get to later.
Yep.
But first thing, I want to just know, it's been a little bit since you released. This is the first wave. What have you seen from people? Like, what are the thoughts?
Tremendous amounts of enthusiasm. So, first, thank you for having me on the show.
Oh,
this is super cool.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. We've seen an enormous amount of enthusiasm from Transformers fans, from tabletop gamers, from parents who grew up with Transformers as their toy line as a kid, or are now raising little Transformers fans. It's been a fantastically positive response.
Yeah, I mean, not only playing the game and actually being able to think it's not crazy complicated. I mean, you worked on Magic too. You've had other card games, so.
This is my fifth.
Yeah, so you know that some of them can get pretty complicated.
Want to dive into that?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, we knew that those three groups were going to be the big three groups of gamers who we were going to focus on. Transformers fans, tabletop gamers, and parents. This flip, that was mandatory. It's the best way to represent the true nature of a Transformers character, right? And then, we went through systems that had movement in grids on the table. There was a little family of more tactical games, and nothing really none of those systems fully encompassed what we wanted. And then we slowly, through iteration, got closer and closer to a system that was what you see here: easy to grok, felt like Transformers characters smashing into each other, had the possibility for the level of design space. Like in Wizards design, we talk about the concept of design space, and it's sort of this nebulous idea of where could we go. And this system had that level of space that we were looking for and met all our other goals. So here we are.
And not only that,
Sorry, that was really long.
No, that's no problem. I mean, big fan, so I'm more than happy to hear. I'm sure many others will. And you didn't shy away, though, from you were like, okay, we're only going to hit those vanilla characters like Optimus Prime, Bumblebee, and Grimlock. You went through some more obscure characters in just the G1, and you've said, I believe, correct, that you'd be willing to look at the whole universe. So
we are constant. So that's a 3-part question.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk sublines of Transformers first. We're focusing on Generations as our line look, and we're aligning with Generations. But one of the really cool things about being Hasbro is we can have those conversations where, this G1 character never has had a Generations line look. And we can have that conversation with Hasbro and work with them. So in 2019, you're going to be seeing some characters that are getting facelifted and updated into the Generations line look. Some characters who may not have been touched for 15 or more years.
I can think of a few.
Speaking to the obscurity of characters, these are the common cards. I just grabbed them out. That's my tank deck. Hold on, let's put that aside. We knew that when we were thinking about and crafting what the experience that a new player to this game had, one of the things that we decided very rapidly is it was really critical that characters like Optimus Prime and Megatron and Starscream and Bumblebee's here he is, that these were accessible experiences even from the get-go, even from purchasing just a few Transformers TCG products. So we wanted to make sure that these characters appeared at common so that someone could say, even a casual Transformers fan could see characters that they knew and recognized and loved. And then we also wanted to make sure that we were signaling to Transformers fans who were super deep in the IP and super deep in the lore with characters like Flame War and Demolisher, that we are not afraid, and in fact it is integral to the identity of this trading card game, that we are plumbing the depths of Transformers and pulling characters who may not have a ton of representation in either toy or other media, but who are integral parts of Generations and G1 into our game. Like Flame War is a perfect example. She's had exactly one toy, as far as I can recall. Someone out there can prove me wrong, but But it was important that even they show up, characters like that show up at Common, so that we were upfront about what our intent was to new gamers.
And what I've really, going to what you just released, the Metroplex deck, I found it very interesting because there are certain, like these are obvious, the simple like truck person, there are ones that have a bit more weird stuff. For example, I believe one of the reasons I can't remember where I heard it, but like Soundwave's not in this because you wanted to make sure you got him right.
Correct.
And like Metroplex is a big city, or if you have some of the combiners, stuff like that. And you released out of nowhere this huge card that has guys who go underneath it and stuff, like completely different, unexpected.
And that was also intentional because, so this is a new product, right? Like this is a new line. And there are things that we wanted to do when we were establishing the brand and the game line that said to customers, this is the box that they're going to play in, and then when we was Metroplex, we're like, and the box is just like bigger. Like we're not in a little box here.
Yeah.
And one of the things that enables us to not be in that a little tiny box is by choosing to have a game system where the character cards don't shuffle into the deck.
Now, I do have one question though.
Shoot.
The starter set is Optimus Prime, Bumblebee, all Autobots. Metroplex, Autobots.
Yep.
Will you be planning to give Decepticon fans a little love in the starter set?
So Decepticons will show up in starter products in 2019.
Oh, fantastic. Speaking of 2019.
Yes.
Yesterday and today, as I just learned, you've been showing some images from the next wave
That's
of
correct.
sets.
So yesterday we showed Windblade in bot mode, and today we showed her alt mode.
I'm curious, because as far as I've seen, it's just called Wave 2. Is that what the names are going to be, or are you going to do something like Magic the Gathering where,
Not gonna say.
Okay.
So we're going to be talking more about the specifics about what Wave 2 is and when it's arriving in early January.
Okay, awesome.
But you can imagine in terms of shape and size, it's very similar to Wave 1.
Right.
Booster, starter, and then a standalone deck product.
Now, you work for Wizards of the Coast.
I do.
Who has pretty much, many would call it the father of trading card games, as well as Hasbro, who has many different Transformers lines. Do you ever talk with them, with each other, like maybe how with
Constantly.
mechanics, or maybe have they ever talked about, like, because for example the Bumblebee movie coming out a little bit later this month, do they ever talk about that? Like, is there any cooperation, or are they just like,
No.
you do you?
No, there's a ton of cooperation with Hasbro. We are regularly in contact, like super regularly in contact with the Transformers brand team, the Transformers creative team, the Transformers toy team, and Transformers publishing. And that's why we're able to do what we are able to do, is because this is a collaboration where we're getting enormous amounts of support from the folks who make Transformers toys and make the Transformers brands and published products. And that's been truly a fantastic collaborative experience.
And as with any card game, eventually you're going to start more people who want to get more of a pro tournament scene. Are you starting to see that grow? And if so, how are you expecting to see it grow and maybe help support it?
So this is a complex question, so I'm going to ask you to bear with a complex answer.
No, it's fine.
So we're starting a new brand, right? And the sort of conventional wisdom is that you have to have tournaments right from the get-go. Remember when I talked about the three groups of people who we thought and in fact saw come into this game? Some of those, particularly Transformers fans and youngsters, haven't played trading card games before. And so we wanted to make sure that we were building a community as the foundation and building a brand that can continue building on itself and not cannibalize itself. And I mean that from a player point of view. So we didn't want to create an environment of overly competitive impression, so that people who were Transformers fans and were like, I'm going to take the dive, I'm going to collect a trading card game, didn't feel like they were being excluded implicitly or explicitly. So that's why we didn't start with a heavy tournament structure. And we hear, and fans, like, that's why we're here. That's why I'm here. That's why we're constantly talking and engaging with fans. So one of the things that's important is that local game communities do what's right for the local game community. So if a store has a bunch of players who are like, tournaments please, go for it. And we recently released several types of limited events that can be run casually or as a tournament. And then there's, of course, constructed play. Game stores can and should do what's right for their community. If there's that demand in a local community, go for it. And we've seen that. We've seen tournaments in places across the United States and internationally. We've also seen communities that are youngsters and their parents coming and having that experience. And for them, we have things like League. So for now, we really want it to be self-directed by the local store community. And as we evolve through 2019, we will continuously reevaluate. Today here, we've got tournaments downstairs today, each day of this event. And that's one of the things that you'll see is you'll see a little bit more of that at conventions. As we move into being a full-fledged community that's really developing all the different types of players, we'll serve them in that way.
Now, this is your first set, and you, as you said before, you worked on multiple trading card games before. But I'm curious, is there, I don't think there's anything as bad as Black Lotus or Time Walk. But is there any cards that you feel like you tweak a little bit now that you've seen it sort of hit the public?
I don't think we're fully into the metagame development enough in order to really make that
nothing so shining obvious.
I would say the other way around. There's a couple of characters that, in retrospect, that I wish we had buffed a little bit more. Sergeant Cup.
Yeah, I'm sure many people would not mind having him getting a little more love.
So the great thing about this game is we can release different versions of the characters,
right?
And we can go back to that and
they're not done.
Exactly. Just because we've released a character once doesn't mean that's the only time you're going to see that character.
Well, it's especially helpful considering how long they've been around. Some of them have a different feat, so maybe you want to try to one that rewards Bumblebee for the feat from this scene or from this comic.
Exactly.
But I really want to know, because I just got my own, not Demolisher, but the rare from my own, try to make a tank build.
Okay.
And you apparently, I want to see a quick look at this.
All right, let's take a look at the tank deck. So the interesting thing about this tank deck is that it is, so it's Megatron, Demolisher, and Darkmount, which is one of the standard tank builds. But it is, the thing that's I think going to be most surprising to you, it is nearly entirely blue pips.
That's actually what I was thinking of. I'd go with mine, because it seems like they actually work very well being just walling off.
Yeah, this deck is it's designed to soak as much damage as possible until it can use Hunker Down to go grab. Where are you? No, there's my other Hunker Down. Where's Crushing Treads? There we go. Until it can use Hunker Down or just get Crushing Treads out. And then once it's developed the characters in a little bit, just go bap and start smacking.
Yeah, no. I really do love the team aspect. The two decks I already had built before I could get.
What was your other one?
No, I don't have the tank one built yet. I built two before.
What were they? What
it was Dinobots. Not the best. I didn't have Grimlock yet. So but it still did pretty well. And Cars with Flame War, because I really just love that small drop. It made it really useful to get.
Yeah, Flame War and RC were specifically 5 drops so that they can be a little bit more flexible in how they're applied in team builds.
No, that definitely. That's why I loved her. It was like, she just fits in this low count, and she can really annoy people.
Yep. And speaking about the Metroplex deck that we just released, there's a reason that Scamper and Slammer are 4-point car and tank respectively, and that's to offer new deck building and team building possibilities. Having that 4-point car is super critical because it just completely opens up 4 wide cars in a way that wasn't available before, and you're going to see that more as we continue to release product, adding a little bit here and there to existing builds to offer new possibilities for deck building and play.
No, I mean, definitely, as soon as I saw that, I just got mine open. I haven't had a chance to mess around with that either. I'm just like, oh, now I have a 4. I wonder what I could do now. But
you can do a lot of different things.
It's really amazing how the small ones actually almost excite me a little bit more, just because you can just etch in a little stuff.
Especially when you're looking at abilities with characters like Prowl. Like having that 4th car really just changes Prowl's effectiveness and really just amps that up, and completely intentional.
Yeah, and If I can speak correctly, these are Ultra Pro. Like they just released a whole bunch of stuff, right?
This deck has been hanging around a while. This is the previous Ultra Pro series, and these are the Ultra Pro double-sided clear.
All right.
And
do you know if they're making a binder at all? Because I know that would be one thing. I'm sure.
You know what? They're here. We could take a look.
Oh, we should.
They're coming out with sleeves and other accessories as we get towards the end of the year and into early 19.
All right. I guess one final question before we wrap up.
Sure.
Favorite Transformer?
So I get asked that a lot. So I'm gonna give you two answers.
Okay.
I'll give you favorite toy.
Uh-oh.
And then I'll give you favorite Transformers character generally. So my favorite toy. I mean, even that's complicated. Sorry.
If you want to avoid that one, you can do favorite card that hasn't printed yet.
That would be Soundwave.
Of course.
Of which there will be multiple Soundwaves in 2019. None of them.
So many versions of him. That makes sense.
But not in Wave 2. He's a little bit later. He's in the back half of the year.
Hey, I'm more than glad waiting for him to fully baked for his perfect.
My favorite toy is I have a grapple from when I was a kid. This answer is going to change. Like those of you who listen to me and a lot, you'll note that this answer has changed. I don't have a consistent favorite toy answer because they all mean different things. I have a grapple from when I was a kid who's missing both of his hands and doesn't have the rockets that go into the hand launchers either. And he and a Devastator have carried with me through the entirety of like kid into adult, and they're still in my house. My favorite toy overall has got to be the Masterpiece Nemesis Prime.
Oh, that's a pretty nice piece.
That Masterpiece Nemesis Prime is just astonishing. Well, the next time you interview me, ask me again because the answer will almost certainly be different.
I'll always be happy to hear more Transformers. But until then, the Wave 1 is out right now, as long as with a huge Metroplex deck, with Wave 2 coming 2019.
Yeah, and we'll have more information about specifics about Wave 2 in very early January.
So keep an ear out for that. But until then, this has been Roll for Crit.
To catch more interviews like this one from PAX Unplugged 2018, please like and subscribe to Roll for Crit.
And don't forget to check us out and follow us at Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, all at Roll for Crit.